Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This episode we'll be going over what I kind of hinted at in Wednesday's episode, and that is a forum post which caught my eye. There was something that I didn't necessarily agree with in it, and that was from a very quick scan. And this is like massive, this post. So I do want to get into it as soon as possible. But the weekly news, as always, Struenran and the Zakali Elders are your weekly world bosses. You have Wrath Time Walking as your bonus event for the week. Classic Ashran is your brawl. So essentially it is Ashran that never ends. You have to kill the enemy boss in order to end the game. Volcanic, Sanguine and Tyrannical are your mythic affixes. Volcanic, there's small volcanoes that spawn underneath you, simply move out of the way. Sanguine, there's shit on the ground, move out of the way. And Tyrannical, the bosses and the mobs that they spawn in the instance have increased health and damage done, so bring a talent build to accommodate for that. So let's get straight into this. Now, this post is Blizzard needs to ban GDKPs and either treat BOP items, bind on pickup, like arena rating, or sell all loot on WoW Shop. Now, that title is mad, firstly. So let's go through it. Post literal gear for sale in the Blizzard store or start enforcing harsh bans for people that are trading gold for bind on pickup items off raid bosses. You took hard stances on selling boosts for leveling characters. Why is boosting a character and gear once at max level any different? GDKPs are displacing tons of players in the community that either don't have the gold to participate in these scam schemes or don't want to participate in them because of what they are. GDKPs enable money laundering, and I'm here to play a video game, not make money. I see other topics where players are literally asking you to sell gear because they don't want to spend hours farming gold. They don't want to buy gold with real money, or their character is not geared enough to even participate in GDKP or cuts of the money. Okay. So let's start with this. This is a massive post, so I'm going to kind of blitz through these points. The stance that Blizzard took on boosts for leveling characters, essentially they didn't want a mage just power leveling your characters. It was against the spirit of Classic, and I can kind of understand that, but mages were literally using the mechanics of a nearly 20-year-old game to one-shot or one pull entire dungeons that were meant for parties, like parties of 5. Now, the stance that they took on it was essentially if you have a super high level in your group, the XP is nerfed quite drastically. That's the stance that they took on it. Now, this guy's initial stance of post a literal gear for sale in the Blizzard store or start enforcing harsh bans for people that are trading gold for bind on pickup items off raid bosses. Now, bind on pickup stuff has been in the game since the very first raid of World of Warcraft. You have braces that drop off of Molten Core for each class: priest, paladin, druid, mage, rogue, etc., etc. And you could always post these on the auction house. So if people wanted to spend their gold, their earned money in the game on this gear, they are more than welcome to. Putting gear on the Blizzard store literally turns this game into a pay-to-win. Now, people might say, oh, this is already a pay-to-win game because you can buy character boosts and, mounts and stuff. That's not pay-to-win. That's paying to have a cosmetic. And yes, you can skip the leveling with, like, a paid character to level 70 or 80, whatever. But the gear that character has when you first log in is shit. If you try and go into an arena with that gear or any sort of mythic raid, you are going to do fuck all. That is the stance on it, essentially. So putting gear in the Blizzard store is the worst thing that you could possibly do. This is what millions and millions of people do not want Blizzard to do. They do not want gear to be sold in the store. Go to any other game, Final Fantasy and stuff, they have actual gear that is sold in stores and everyone hates it. Now, it's kind of accepted in other games potentially, but no one likes the idea of that. So GDKPs, he's essentially got a problem with GDKPs, and this is where you spend gold or like you bid for pieces of gear. Now, if you've got gold, then you are allowed to obviously bid on gear. It is, you are buying a piece of gear that you have helped participate like in receiving in the raid, essentially. So you go to a raid, a 10-man raid, and some braces drop that you want. These braces are for, the healers, so you and someone else. The other healer has braces that are already better, so you just bid the lowest increment that you're allowed to. So say it starts at 5k gold. You bid 5k, no one else bids. You pay 5k to the raid leader, you get the braces, and then at the end of the raid, the gold is accumulated and split evenly among every single raider. So if you go above 50k, for example, you each get 10% each because it's a 10-man raid. This is very basic. This probably isn't, because some people take bigger cuts because they're raid leading, etc. But it's just an example. You get that 5k back that you maybe bought, or that you used to buy the braces. So it's pretty much you've just not spent any gold and you've actually just gotten some braces from the raid. You can have that kind of deal. Or if people are spending a lot of gold, which they might have gotten fairly, or they might have used the Blizzard store, like the WoW token, and gotten gold through that means, or they might have bought gold, then essentially, yes, I can understand that being a bit annoying, but you can't dictate that in a run, because some people, and most people, do make their gold legitimately. And it's up to them how they want to spend their gold. Because you don't have enough gold to spend, that's on you, because you can make gold relatively easily in this game through gems, through anything really. You can log on once a day and do a transmute, and that'll get you about 200 gold. It's very simple. Okay. I don't know where your head is, Blizzard. It's okay to want to make money. Look, I make money and I want to give it to you, but not for this flaming pile of feces that is ridden with GDKP. Okay, well, GDKP is a good method of boosting the economy, essentially. It's actually better for most people in the game itself, because everything gets inflated. And, if you go to 1 GDKP, I did back in Burning Crusade, and I got a fair amount of, gold for it. But it was a tough thing to do. The raid wasn't smooth, and you had to really push the limits of it. This essentially fuels the dark and shady underworld of that which is buying and selling gold on third-party websites. I do not even have to do research to know that gold sold on hardcore characters is going to be way more valuable than gold sold on regular servers where you can die over and over and over and suffer no loss. Okay, I do understand that people buy gold. I do. The reason that people buy gold is because they might not have time, that kind of deal. They have enough money to do so. It is against TOS. I do not recommend it. The reason that Blizzard put in a WoW token is that they can kind of buy gold legally through Blizzard itself, so there's less risk, etc., etc. I'm always an advocate for the WoW token because it allows me to pay for my WoW subscription without actually having to pay real-life money, which is amazing. If people want to spend their money, their real-life money, on making a fictional currency, by all means, they can do that. But that's Blizzard's way of kind of combating the third-party gold-buying websites. Now, let's say it as it is a cash grab from Blizzard, but it does work, and it benefits me in ways because I have saved loads of money by buying these WoW tokens with in-game currency and have not had to spend a WoW subscription fee for about 2 years now, which is really, really good. So, it's one of them things. You can definitely use it to your advantage, and it's very cheap on like Wrath of the Lich King. Retail, not so much. there are tons of in-depth videos these days where people have interviewed the owners of these vast gold botting farming fleets. You are enabling them to do this as you're essentially telling the world you don't care. You post most of these monthly blue posts about how you've taken action against X 100,000 accounts or whatever, but the owners of these bot accounts willingly admit in these interviews that Blizzard lacks enforcement of bots is enabling them to thrive. One of their primary reasons these bots exist is because Activision Blizzard enables the high value of gold by allowing players to trade gold for raid items. I'm positive the original creators of WoW did not intend to bind on pickup items to be auctioned off at an exponential amount of gold that was ever thought to be possible in one singular player to amass on the regular. Now, this guy says on the regular. I would say that I'm not a regular player. I would say that I'm more of a regular player, but I have people in the guild who are more regular players. These regular players have more gold than me. They have more gold than me, or about the same. I have a healthy amount of like 50k gold on Wrath of the Lich King. I've accumulated it through questing, dungeons, raids, whatever. Like professions, they have done the same. I have paid multiple like WoW tokens, like for my game time, essentially, with the in-game gold, and they do the same. Now, these people log on, like if they don't have time, they'll log on once a day just to do their transmutes. Their transmutes being like a few characters that can make a Cardinal Ruby or something, and they'll log off if they don't have the time. And by doing that, they make about 800 gold. And this 800 gold goes towards I think it's like 7,000 gold, currently a WoW token. It goes towards that fund. So how many is that? 10 days? 10 days worth? If you got 3 to 4 different characters making these gems, it's about 10 to 15 days. And then you've bought a WoW token. And that will pay for a month of your game time. How amazing is that? A lot of people can accumulate gold quite quickly in the game, and fairly, actually, through very easy means. There's so many guides about how to like get gold in Wrath of the Lich King, and people have just become more effective at it. And, you know, I'm not denying that there are bots. There are definitely a load of bots. But since the introduction of the WoW token in Wrath of the Lich King, I have seen nowhere near as many bots. It's a night and day sort of situation in comparison. Like before they released the WoW token and after. So I'm really not too sure about this. There are obviously people who are going to have interviews and stuff like that, but as someone who talks about WoW and looks into WoW stuff quite often, I don't see many of these like botting / farming people doing interviews. I'm not gonna lie. I do have to admit, though, Blizzard are a bit slow at dealing with bots, and I think that they could use a bit more help with it, a bit more staff maybe, but it is what it is. If Blizzard actually make GDKP and selling of an in-game bind on pickup items from dungeons and raids against terms of service, then the value of gold would dramatically drop, and it would be difficult for these fleets of bots to make a profit. People will still buy gold for anything. Mounts, boosts, like anything. People are willing to pay 7k gold to everyone in a raid group if a specific mount drops in the raid, which is like midnight usually in Karazhan. So you tell me, is that the same thing or is that different? You need to take a stance and kill GDKP, or you need to continue on your path to creating a game where players buy the best gear and stand around doing nothing and try to impress the other players standing around in a main city. And they all talk about how much gold they pay to buy all these best gears in the game. I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed the game much more when people are thrilled to get into a raid and kill bosses and try and get their loot, compared to this horrendous environment where your own guildmates do not even want to raid with your guild because they would rather go raid in a GDKP and buy the drops they need with gold, which they have more likely sourced from places against your terms of service. A lot of people can make gold. From this standpoint, this guy just can't make gold. That's my standpoint on this. GDKPs, I think, are quite good for the game. It's a good way to share the wealth that is on the server. If you put, let's say, a high population server, if no one bought gold on this server and you let it do its thing for about a month or so on Wrath of the Lich King, you would have the same sort of prices, if not more, than what is currently happening in the game. And there will still be GDKPs. It won't be as much gold to start with, but over the course of a few years, which Classic is now, Classic released in 2019, and it has evolved into Wrath of the Lich King, people have accumulated a lot of gold. Now, potentially through different means and TOS means, which I'm going to exclude, but I would imagine that the prices of these GDKPs would be the same, if not 5 to 10% less in terms of like the starting bids kind of deal. Because again, a lot of people are very effective at making gold. And over the course of 4 years, you have a lot of time to make this gold. I don't know. I like the idea of GDKPs because you get some gold and potentially some items as well. I do like it, and people have found out that it is a very good way to deal with any loot drama. As long as the raid lead is trusted, then it is a very good way to deal with loot drama. Because it's like, okay, you bought this, fair enough, you outbid me, that's it. I'm not going to cry about it, it's one of them things. Things are different on Hardcore. Hardcore Classic, World of Warcraft, is truly a place where players can gloat about their accomplishments of defeating XYZ and acquiring ABC. The entire feel-good feeling of these moments is spoiled and made rotten by GDKP. There will probably rarely be GDKPs on hardcore servers. A place where players could potentially take their hard-earned cash from their real-life job and just trade it for in-game items that they may have been able to acquire otherwise. The game is not even 2 months old and there are already ZG/AQ GDKPs running on Defias Pillager. Yes, because generally GDKPs are actually very well run raids. The raid leaders know what they're doing, they have a very good system, and it's usually a smooth run, in all honesty. So people going to that are naturally going to be drawn to it on a hardcore server because they don't necessarily want their character to die for obvious reasons. And let's face it, if you're a mage, you probably have more gold than most people do in... Like, by the time you hit level 60, I had about 400 gold on my mage when I hit level 60. Like, I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't doing anything with it. It just sort of sat there. To be honest, I should give away my gold on my hardcore server, but that's besides the point. That's kind of my point towards that. It would be like making millions of people globally participating in a sport where the winners are purely the teams that have the most money. What is the point? There is no point. Primarily the people that have the most money do have an advantage, I would say, most of the time. What do you want your games to be filled with? Players who are having fun and enjoying your games, who are looking for the next challenge, or to gear out their toon by actually raiding with a group of players, or players who bought all their gear, are bored and will quit as soon as they have bought each item. The attitude of players who buy their gear and attitudes of players who want the game and earn their gear are dramatically different. I like the idea of if you're unlucky in a game and you have 40 people in a raid, let's take a Molten Core GDKP. Molten Core GDKP Sulphurous drops. If you've seen 5 Sulphurouses drop and you're a Rep Paladin or something back in Classic, you know, you've dreamed of this is what you need. And you've seen 5 of them drop, 5 of them go to different people, like a boomkin for random reasons and stuff. You get pissed off, and it's like, okay, fine, I'm just going to go to a GDKP, get the item that I want, and that's it. And it drops, you buy it, cool, see you later. That kind of deal. Now, again, some gold will be sourced from a illegal website. Blizzard will be able to track that through mail and stuff, although... sometimes they do fuck up. That's a story for another time. That's with regards to me. And yeah, essentially, it's... GDKPs, I think, are very decent for the guild or the game. Obviously, people are going to have a shit ton of gold in these GDKPs, but I know people who have hundreds of thousands of gold without doing these GDKPs. I personally could have had hundreds of thousands of gold on Wrath the Lich King servers. It's just I spend them. I spend it on stuff. I spend it on the tokens. I spend it on BOEs for guild members. And going back to a point, if your guild members are going to a GDKP over your guild raid, that's a problem with your guild, and that's a problem with them, and you guys not meshing well. I don't think we've ever had a problem in our guild with people wanting to do something else, and it kind of just speaks volumes of the characters in that guild, is all. Stop. Here we go. Stop catering to players who don't actually want to play the game and want to just stand around in main cities decked out and bored. You've got one chance to fix this problem you created. If you don't kill GDKPs and let it run rampant, even in hardcore WoW, I'm done with this toxic wasteland you've created. You have the power to fix this. You will still make money if you aren't selling WoW tokens. WoW tokens are very beneficial for the game. They killed so many of the bots. I have a video of how many bots were farming at one point. And if you were to go on Wrath right now, there's still probably some bots, but nowhere near as many, which is crazy because of the introduction to the WoW token, because those who were buying gold on these third-party websites will just get a WoW token because there's less risk, you still get your gold, and, you won't get banned for it. If you think GDKP is good, I dare you to literally sell epic items, tier pieces, weapons, and trinkets on your store page. Just do it. What? That's what you're doing by turning your cheek on the topic of GDKP. I bet people would leave the game in droves. So let's stop this ruse and return the game back to the game and not being a gold farming simulator. The game has always been a gold farming simulator. Ever since you spawn into World of Warcraft, you have to make your gold. Otherwise, you can't train spells, you can't get mounts, you can't get literally anything in the game. Professions, like absolutely everything revolves around gold in the game. You have to make gold. And putting stuff on a store for IRL money literally is pay to win compared to the GDKPs. Now, you could say GDKPs is pay to win, which, yeah, but it's the in-game currency. If you've done well at making gold, if you're good at gold farming in World of Warcraft, you have that opportunity to use that gold to buy items. It's just what it is. These items have been in the game since the very launch of Classic. So it's not anything new. There is already too much GDKP spam in hardcore WoW general channels. Every GDKP devalues every single player that actually worked to achieve and accomplish killing a difficult encounter with other players. There's very few disc or guilds that are doing raiding in hardcore at the moment, so a lot of the random players have to settle for these GDKPs, and you'd rather go into a GDKP than some random person who's setting up a Zul'Gurub run, because if you wipe, that kind of deal. The GDKPs, you need to be in Discord, potentially, stuff like that. If Blizzard does not take a firm stance against this toxic behaviour, then I will be saying goodbye to Blizzard. I will not even care if Classic Plus even became a thing, because I know that soon after the content is beatable, 90% of the spam in Look of a Group will be GDKPs trying to sell people stuff, which means that more bots and me having to play a game a ton more to get items. That's not fun. Classic, you have to play the game a shit ton anyway to get items, and it makes no sense. And the bots literally only come from people who buy third-party WoW gold. So why not take a stance against the third-party WoW golds rather than this, GDKPs? Because that's the source of it, if you're really that annoyed about it. People like to defend GDKPs and say that you can't know for sure if anyone bought gold. But with the prices that some items reach, it's not plausible for players to be able to farm the amount of gold they have to acquire it through other GDKP, with gold assumed to be sourced from things like dailies. Dailies don't exist in vanilla WoW. Blizzard is already hotfixed in ways where you can make gold easily, like the fixing and fishing turn in quest recently. Killing mobs is a good way to farm gold in Wrath of the Lich King. When you hit level 60 in Classic WoW, every quest that you didn't do gives you double the amount of money that you would have gotten from the quest, because it no longer gives XP, so it doubles the amount of gold or silver that you get. So some of these quests will go up to like 7 gold a quest, and if you do every single quest, you're going to end up at like 1,500, 2,000 gold. It's relatively good in Classic. But yeah, just killing like mobs or mining, herbing, stuff like that, it really does add up in vanilla WoW. We're going to start seeing people buy items from raids for thousands of gold or tens of thousands of gold on vanilla. You cannot plausibly say that any player can accumulate that amount of gold without some of it coming from botted accounts, whether it be player receiving gold that was unknowingly botted. Those pots at GDKP get really big because it's part of bought/botted gold and part player earned gold. Now, I do agree with this, but most of it will be player earned gold, but some of it will be botted gold. Potentially, the chances are there. Now, no one can obviously say like, oh, no botted gold or anything like that, because you can't prove it. But the gold is all sourceable from World of Warcraft. You can't just magically pluck out gold from, the servers of Blizzard. It is gold that is all earned within the game. So you can potentially earn this amount of gold in a GDKP run between 40 people in vanilla. Like, the gold has to have been sourced from somewhere in the game. That's the thing with it. Like, it doesn't just appear out of thin air. Additionally, why doesn't Blizzard just literally spend some more time to improve the currency in the game and track it? It should not be hard to create a few extra tables in database to track gold as it is distributed throughout the game. It should be easy to find these people who are funneling gold to other players unlawfully. To make a game that millions of players play each day, but you couldn't figure out how to track currency as it travels through your own game, I don't buy that. You either don't care or you don't find it worth that much effort to do. That would create a literal automated tool that you could use to track and ban immediately users that are engaging in botting or gold buying/selling. Okay, it's a fair point, but this is the problem with it. My friend, who I've known for like teens of years now, yeah, something like that, 10 years or something. He's a WoW friend. He played Classic on my realm. Back when Classic was Classic, vanilla Classic. And he didn't have time to play anymore, so he gave me a few bits and bobs. He gave me all the Arcanite crystals he has, or arcane crystals, and he gave me about 300 odd gold, something like that. The next day, I got banned because it automatically picked up the mail, and it was like, oh, this is suspicious. So I got banned for a few to several days because a friend sent me gold because he couldn't play anymore. And how is that fair? You're going to get people banned en masse because of the few that do buy gold. Which, it sounds like I'm defending it, but if you put a limit on this automated system, 10,000 gold, let's say. Okay, 10,000 gold, any increments over 10,000 gold, it'll be automatically banned. A lot of people in Wrath of the Lich King have over 10,000 gold on multiple characters, I would say. So if you're sending all your gold to one character, you're going to get banned for that. Sorry, banned. Now, this means that you would have to send multiple increments of mail, so 9,999 gold. Okay, that's fine. But what's to stop the people who have bought gold from receiving that same mail, that mail that is under the increment, to get banned? Why can't they just, if they bought 50,000 gold, get 6 letters in the mail saying, oh, here's your gold that you bought, 9,000 increment, 9,000 increment, that sort of thing. There's just so many ways around it. It's ridiculous to even think, to be honest. So it wouldn't work. It straight up wouldn't work because there's so many ways around it to track it essentially falsely as well. Because many people do send a lot of gold over between their own characters, and they're obviously not buying gold, are they? They're just sending it between their characters, and they're getting banned for no reason. So I don't know. That one makes no sense. Oh my god, there's still so much. Okay. There's still so much. I'm gonna, because we're coming towards the end. Let's go for the condensed TLDR. So this guy essentially puts Blizz banned leveling services, introduced character boost. They didn't ban leveling services. Or this banned. I'm thinking this guy wants banned leveling services as well. Oh no, that's just the way that he put it. But Blizzard haven't banned leveling services. And they introduced a character boost. This character boost is only for when the expansion releases, essentially, as if you want to switch character, you're more than welcome to, and it isn't a character boost to max level. It's usually 10 levels below, and again, you get really shit gear, so it really isn't worth it. It's just a very quick catch-up mechanic. Blizz banned gold buying / selling, introduces WoW token. That makes sense because the WoW token is, you will never be able to control people buying from third-party websites, gold-wise. So the WoW token allows them to do it in a ban-free manner, and this means that there's less bots in the world. This means that there's more chance for you to make gold. You might not agree with it, but I like it personally because it allows me to buy my WoW subscription without having to pay IRL money. It's a benefit for me. Turn it into a benefit for you as well. If people want to buy the WoW token and sell it on the auction house for gold, let them do it. It's their money. They can do what they want with it, but I'm using it to save myself some money. So utilize it in whichever way that you want. Blizz bans boosting teams for arena, etc. Says players need to play themselves and earn the rank. Not too sure what he means by this one. Boosting in arena is relatively tough, but can be done and is done by very few people, but that's how PvPers actually make their gold, to be honest with you. You're always going to have people who play with a higher rated friend. You always will. It's just going to be a more difficult game, etc., etc. It's very tough to track that. Blizz needs to ban GDKP and either post all items in-game on WoW Store to be bought with IRL money. That is the shittest idea I've ever heard, I'm sorry. Make it against terms of service to trade gold for raid / dungeon BOPs, bind on pickup gear, and say that the player has to earn the item themselves like arena rating. How do you earn an item in a dungeon? You're in the dungeon, you're helping clear the dungeon. What do you need? What else do you want? Like a specific dungeon rating? That's called Mythic Plus. And Mythic Plus is toxic as fuck, in my opinion. So, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. The rest is a bunch of framing of GDKP and why it's bad for the player base. Enables bullying of lower income bracket players. Earn more gold. The gold is there to be earned. I do understand that higher GDKPs are tough to get into because they do have quite a lot of gold. It is accumulated relatively quickly. But if you can manage to get into the lower GDKPs, maybe one for the raid tier before, like Ulduar or Trial, then you can slowly work your way up with more and more gold. Inflates value of everything in game naturally because gold can be used to make money IRL and also buy items in game. I hate this argument that players use. It inflates the value. It's the game being out for so long inflates the value. Everyone logging into WoW Classic on the day of its release back in 2019, the value of everything was 0. Because no one had looted anything, no one had anything in their bags apart from refreshing spring water and some fucking cheese. Okay, maybe it was 7 copper or something, but essentially the longer the game's lifespan, the higher stuff's going to inflate. because less people might be farming certain things, in which case they're more lucrative, so therefore the price will go up. Naturally, people will just get more and more gold as they play more, because, well, you're playing more, you're constantly earning gold from killing mobs, doing quests, doing professions, doing raiding, doing dungeons, etc. It always inflates. Sorry, I just hit the mic there. I'm very expressive with my hands. It always inflates. Every single fucking day, the market inflates a tiny bit in World of Warcraft because it is an ongoing, living world. It's ridiculous. You can look at, like, a Dragonflight, for an example. It's in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions. And if you look at Classic, when it released back in 2019, 2010, you're thinking like 1,000, maybe a couple thousand is really high end. TBC, 10,000 maybe. Wrath, 50, 100,000. In Miss Pandaria or in Cataclysm, it would be like 200,000, 300, that kind of deal. It always inflates. I hate this argument so much. Enables money laundering. Like, okay, I guess. Creates an environment where gold is so valuable that it exuberates innate greed of humans and makes acquisition of gold more important than having fun. If you make having gold and the acquisition of gold more important than having fun, then by all means, if that's how you want to play the game, you can play the game that way. It should not affect someone else how they play the game. You can find ways to have fun. You can do old content. I personally, as a druid, go back into Sethic Halls, kill Anzu to try and get a mount, do a Zul'Gurub to try and get a mount, to do multiple things. I do the daily Gamma dungeons to get some emblems for my guild, that kind of deal. It's crazy. You can't let these people, get to you and ruin your fun. I challenge Blizzard to spend more time and money to have an engineer create a solution to Gold Track. It was essentially a massive 2 on GDKP, and daring Blizzard to be blunt about it, about what they are enabling, which is, in my opinion, the same thing as putting all endgame items on the WoW shop for a set price. I probably missed a bunch, but I think these are some of the big items at a glance. I disagree with most of this. I really do disagree with so many of this. GDKPs are always going to be in the game. It's a very effective way of making gold for players, and people have become very effective at making gold. That's essentially it. Now, obviously, some people will have bought gold. You can never stop this. GDKPs are not the problem. People will always buy gold. They're the people that are the problem, who buy it from third-party websites. Again, if there was no third-party websites, Blizzard might still have implemented the WoW token. Probably would have. But I at least get some benefit out of that, because I can use it to pay for my subscription for those who are, paying their IRL money to get some in-game currency. I'm fine with that trade-off. If they want some gold, I get to keep my IRL money. That's not a bad trade-off in my honest opinion. And people always complain about the WoW subscription, you shouldn't be paying for a sub for a game that you've got, essentially. So, take advantage of the WoW token. It's there to buy, and it saves you so much money in the long run. It really does. But look, it's a weird post. I don't agree with a lot of it, in my honest opinion. GDKPs, I think, are always going to be there. They're always going to be a main staple point. And even if no one in the world bought gold from any source, GDKPs would still be there. People would still be bidding in the thousands, in the tens of thousands for items. It will always be there. And the inflation will naturally always go up because more and more people get gold, etc., etc. Whew, that was a long one. But yeah, thank you all very much for listening. Do check out all of the social medias down below. Constant stuff happening over there. Thank you all very much for listening once again. And go Valor friend. Goodbye all.